hacienda.
Yes.
Right, because haciendas, and a lot of people like don't realize haciendas were designed to be defensive structures. That's why it's a curtain wall around the courtyard. That's why there are no ground floor windows whatsoever, and all exterior windows that like face outside are really narrow. That's why, is because it's defensive. And I was like, you do that, and then around the outside of that, you could go to the old standby that humans have been doing literally forever, which is just a ditch and bank, and you just do 3 ditch and banks. And you make sure they're deep enough and wide enough that you can't drive a tank across it. And boom, there you go.
Like, there's also like the you heard that, the term circle the wagons.
Yep.
Right. That was the wagon train thing, right? The wagon trains coming across the plains. You put the wagon trains in a circle, and now you don't have a blind spot.
Yep.
Right. Well, that's how they set up their towns when they got out west. Also, is the town will be in the middle, and then they'll have outlying farms like on the spoke, and then everyone has a bell. Trouble comes, everyone responds.
Yeah, it's and she's like, well, but we need more. I was like, no, you need to understand that no defensive structure is unbreachable. There is no such thing as an unbreachable defensive structure. Even castles, the entire point of a full-on castle is just to last long enough that relief shows up and breaks the siege.
Yeah.
That's all it's for. That's all it's designed to do. It is never going to last forever.
Yeah, it's the same with forts.
Yeah.
Right. Look at Last of the Mohicans. That's a perfect example.
Yeah. You're never going to have them last forever. Like, there's going to be a point where they're going to breach your defenses. They're going to get through. They're going to do all the stuff that you don't want them to do. So your best bet is you're just defensive enough, and you have an obvious avenue for them to come up that delays them enough you can harass them the whole way, but it's the one way that they're going to come, so you can mount your defense concentrated in one place. And that's all you got to do, and that's all you got to worry about. So you build it like that, and then now it's like, okay, well, I mean, and you make sure that, unlike, say, at Ruby Ridge, where he built that partway down the mountain, you make sure that you're at a high enough spot that there's nothing that can look in.
Yeah.
There's no higher vantage points, and then that way you don't have to worry about Lan Horiuchi showing up either.
Yeah, fuck that guy. No, but you also have to worry. You also have to make sure that help is actually coming.
Yeah,
you don't want people pulling a Sam Houston.
Yeah, and just going, I'll be there to see. No, I'm not gonna.
Yeah, yeah, and then they lost the Alamo.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's also. The Alamo too was also the result of, they completely didn't realize that the Mexican army was going to cross the desert in the middle of winter to attack them.
They also underestimated the size of the Mexican army.
Well, yeah, Santa Anna, I mean, considering he'd already run with his tail between his legs once, I think they assumed he was going to lick his wounds. And unfortunately, that was not the kind of person Santa Anna was.
No, his ego was hurt. Although that can also be said for the American government, in terms of Ruby Ridge, and why their actions at Waco were that way, because their egos were hurt.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I mean, in Ruby Ridge, it's, if you didn't have if you didn't have Lan Horiuchi, Ruby Ridge goes a dramatically different way pretty quickly, because you had all of these militias building up around the outside of the federal perimeter, and there was going to be a point where those militias reach a critical mass, and that perimeter is going to have to break. The feds are going to have to leave because they're about to get attacked from behind.
Yeah, they arrested people already. I think it was like day 3, day 4. They arrested a group of people trying to get to the cabin, right through the forest roads from back. So, and they had a vehicle full of groceries and guns. they were bringing the important stuff.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. Like, you look at most medieval castles and where they're placed and how they're built, and really they're the ultimate defensive structures in human history, right? Like that is the pinnacle of defensible structure, and they're always on heights so that It's not easy to shoot down into them. They always have ditches and banks, which everybody forgets. Like, and movies do that all the time, where they forget that you don't just build a curtain wall. There's a ditch immediately outside that curtain wall, so that you can't
Yeah.
just put a tower right up against it, right?
Moats.
Like that's always there. But then you usually have access to fresh water within the structure of the castle, and then a decent store of food. Like those are the big things. And like a lot of castles, there's one and I can't remember where the hell it is, but it's actually got this like back and forth path up to the door, and it has these defensible gates all the way up, and it's like a zigzag, so you get hit constantly. If you're trying to come up, you are going to get harassed the entire way. And because the path is so narrow, steep, and walled in on both sides, you're in a fatal funnel the entire way up to the door. There's nothing you can do. You can't maneuver, and it's like on a cliff. Otherwise,
yeah, there's a scene in or a castle in the TV show Vikings like that, where the bridge is completely enclosed in stone, covered, and you have to go up this covered bridge to get to the castle, and it's an absolute fatal funnel. And they roll down spiky logs.
Yeah, I mean it's one of those things where it's people, you can drive yourself insane trying to create the perfect defensive structure. It's just virtually unbreachable. And like, oh, but I'm going to need this, but I'm going to need this, but I'm going to need this, and all it's going to take is one history nerd like me who knows how something similar was assaulted in the Middle Ages, who just goes, oh, we're just going to do this, and destroys all of your plans. So like, you can't build thinking that you're going to build a defensive structure that you can't beat. Just build it needs to be good enough.
It's like the meme curve, that goes up and back down. Right?
Yeah.
Defendable against this, defendable against that. That one gets in.
Yeah. I mean, and that's
vice versa.
Yeah, and that, and it's, you also can't assume that any technology you have, weaponry technology, is going to defeat everything.
Yeah.
There's going to be something. It's that continuous cat and mouse game of weaponry and defense and weaponry and defense and weaponry and defense.
Perfect example. Flannel Daddy put out a video today on thermal drones. That's pretty much a must watch.
There are blankets that will defeat any thermal. They're freaking fantastic. But anybody who pays close enough attention to that thermal readout, despite the fact that you're not glowing, is probably going to spot you.
Yeah, that's like the one place you're praying for a for people not to be able to do their job correctly. What's the word I'm looking for? Competency crisis.
Yeah. You really hope somebody isn't paying close enough attention and misses it.
So, but between those videos, if you go watch that video on Flannel Daddy and go to VSO has a series of videos on different clothing materials and different soaps affecting the ability to pick you up in a night vision. Those two, between those two, you should have a pretty good. Yeah. So
yeah, there's actually a couple of books out there right now that are written by former special operations that are specifically like, here's how you defeat these things in the event, that the world collapses and now you're being hunted by somebody, an enemy force who has thermal or has night vision or whatever. Like, how do you hide and avoid them attacking you? And it's, and they're worth it to read. I mean, some of the stuff they have in there, a lot of the people who actually sit down and write those books, they're morons. Where I'm just like, this is stupid. Who told you this? No, this isn't true at all. You can't. That doesn't work.
You just need a shotgun.
Yeah, that's, oh god. Have you seen some of the crap on Twitter with these freaking people claiming that that a 5.56 bullet would have shredded Trump's ear, and like that just going close to you will
just the sonic boom of it going by your ear would shred your ear to pieces? Come on.
To put that stupidity to rest, all I'm going to point out is that during the assault in Normandy on D-Day, battleships were firing shells from their main guns at inland targets, and they were barely clearing the cliffs that a whole bunch of Rangers were standing on.
Yeah.
And none of those Rangers were killed by something the size of a fucking Mack truck going 25 miles inland, passing directly past them.
Yeah. It's just, I love how the internet goes from doctors to detectives to ballistic specialists in the span of a week.
Oh God. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just, I mean, the whole thing has just been ridiculous. And it just, I keep seeing all these things, and I keep seeing, what pisses me off the most is I keep seeing a lot of these that come out where they start off with as a veteran or as a hunter. And I'm just, and I've started just replying to every single one of them with the, man, all that training and you're still a little bitch.
You're still a moron. Oh, good.
just endlessly. Cause like, I'm just going to take a page out of FPC's notebook and just be like, it's too bad you're a little bitch.
Where's your car, bro? Where's your pizza box, bro?
Yes. Have you seen the Kaczynski meme where it's like, I receive and it's nothing and you receive mail? And it's Kaczynski.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, we're a little bit into this. Hello. Welcome to another fantastic episode of Anarchy Monk Friends Roundtable Discussion. Before we continue, let me remind you that we are covered by the BIPCOT No Government License, which allows for the use and the reuse of this podcast by anyone and everyone except for governments and the bludgies thereof. You can learn more about that at bipcot.org. That's BIPCOT.org. We're also covered under Brandenburg v. Ohio in 1969, which ruled that the government cannot punish inflammatory speech unless that speech is, quote, directed to inciting or producing imminent lawless action and is likely to incite or produce such action. Therefore, everything said here on Anarchy Monk Friends Roundtable Discussion is entirely hypothetical. What is this? Episode 236?
246, I think.
260. We're just gonna say it's 269. Everything's gonna be 269 from now on. Yeah, I mean, buckshot. Where was the truck full of groceries and guns? That was during Ruby Ridge. I was talking about a group of people that tried to come in through the logging roads behind the FBI line to reinforce the Weavers.
246. It is definitely 246. The last one was 245.
246. Okay, say so. I have. Let's see. I know I have it written down. I have it written down as 236.
Well, you told me it's 245 last week when I was like, hey, what episode number are we on?
I believe you.
I laughed to Chris right before we went live last time. And I was like, hey, so I'm sorry this is taking me a minute. I managed to completely forget literally how to do everything every time I have to do this on my own. So
well, hopefully it won't be too many of those. Last 2 weeks ago was just a real bad week.
Yeah, I don't know if you can tell right now how burned I am.
Yes.
It is bad.
That's not a farmer's tan, that's a farmer's scald.
Look at this, is the back of my hand. The back of my hand is burned.
Looks like you're holding someone's handshake.
And then and it's burned all over here, and then there's a white spot where my watch was sitting, which is great. So I have a ghost watch, and my rings all left shadows too on my fingers. So it's been fun.
Lovely.
Yeah.
Oh, the peeling's going to be fun.
I am not looking forward to that at all.
I'm sure Lindsay is, because she's one of those ASMR kind of people.
Oh, pretty much. Yeah, I'm doing everything I can to keep it from peeling. Like, I am just loading moisturizer and everything on it just constantly. Like, please, please, please don't peel. Just heal, fade to a tan. It'll be okay.
Oh, that's not going to happen. I'm so unprepared. I don't have my I don't have the thingies up on the thingy.
Oh no, but I Buckshot. I was not. Or I guess Bo said it. I was not on the Kickapoo River. I was actually I was at Westby for one car show. Their Sweet Rides and Pies. They do it once a year. Highly recommend it. And then I went from there to Alchemy Brewing for their Cannon Valley Bangerang car show. Both of those are completely in the sun the entire time. And it was really weird because when I drove up 27 from Westby to Cashton, there's a point where we came around a corner. And of course, I was driving with my windows down. We come around a corner and I literally looked over at Lindsay and went, is it way hotter suddenly? Because it was like we turned the corner and it went up like 10 degrees. It was insane. And the UV was outrageous the entire time. And of course, I made sure that she wore sunblock. Do you think I put any on? No, because I has the dumb.
Because you're a potato. They don't have sun in Ireland.
Yeah, we don't ever get. I mean, we sell sunglasses. No one knows why.
So, I was gonna start on a serious note, but now we're all fucked up. So I'm gonna start on the secret article.
Oh God.
Yes. No, this one is serious. This is a big deal. This is a real big deal. So we had a discussion, you and I, 3 or 4 shows ago. Indiana court or Indiana judge ruled that tacos were simply Mexican sandwiches. Right? You remember that one?
Yep.
Okay. That was a lively discussion, and it continued over.
Yeah.
We have a new one. Okay, you ready for this?
Right.
Ohio Supreme Court rules that boneless doesn't mean chicken without bones. The Ohio Supreme Court ruled that boneless chicken wings are a cooking style and that customers cannot expect every one of those wings to be bone-free.
Is that not what boneless means? Is no bones?
No, it's a cooking style.
It's ridiculous. What? Yeah, it's a cooking style that involves chicken that doesn't have any fucking bones in it.
The 4-3 decision upheld earlier rulings by lower court that dismissed a suit filed by Michael Berkheimer. Mr. Berkheimer ate a boneless wing at a Hamilton, Ohio restaurant, felt something go down the wrong, and developed a fever 3 days later. A doctor discovered that he had swallowed a bone, which got lodged and tore his esophagus, leading him to become infected, according to court documents. Mr. Berkheimer sued the restaurant, its supplier, and the farm that provided the chicken, accusing all 3 parties of negligence.
That seems reasonable.
The majority opinion written by Justice Joseph Dieters contended that, since it is common knowledge that chickens have bones, customers should expect the possibility of finding bones in chicken products.
But it's not supposed to be a chunk of meat that would have bones in it.
Determining whether a food provider is negligent depends on whether the product that injured a customer is natural or foreign to the food product, the majority said. The wings were prepared by cutting up a chicken breast, much like a fish fillet. An existing precedent held that customers should reasonably expect the possibility of bones in fish fillets. As such, the majority argued Mr. Berkheimer should expect a bone even in his boneless chicken wings.
Well, I am going to begin selling premium top quality meat, and the fact that I called it premium top quality meat means that nothing, because you know that meat could rot. The fact that it's rotten, you should have reasonably expected, because you know that meat could rot.
Hold on. There's a quote here. If it was just to this point, I probably wouldn't have brought this to the table. But because of this quote, this is also from Justice Dieters, who wrote for the majority. Quote, A diner reading boneless wings on a menu should no more believe the restaurant was warranting the absence of bones in the items than believe that the items were made from chicken wings, just as a person eating chicken fingers would know that he had not been served actual fingers.
First of all, are you telling me that those aren't the fingers of chickens?
Like, I've never seen a winged buffalo. I'm just saying, I've never seen a winged buffalo.
I can understand to a certain point. However, I would argue that customers also reasonably expect that that piece of boneless chicken wing is in fact a chunk of chicken breast, and that I can reasonably expect that there would not be a bone in a chicken breast.
Yes, I would assume.
So
Yes. So according to the Ohio Supreme Court, which I mean Ohio shouldn't exist in the first place, boneless chicken wings are a cooking style and that customers cannot expect every one of those wings to be bone free.
it's just fucking insanity.
That's the state of the world in which we live in, Andrew. That's
Well,
the
boneless doesn't necessarily mean boneless. I'm pretty sure that's what the word says.
I assume that's what the word means. I mean, the word boneless, I mean, grammatically means like without bones, right?
Call it fewer bone minimized. I mean,
Bone minimized.
minimized reconstituted chicken pieces.
They shouldn't be allowed to be called wings to me. Yeah, if if it comes from the breast, then technically that's not part of the wing. They shouldn't be able to be called wings. I agree. You should sue them. Sue them, Buckshot.
You're calling them wings and they're not wings. Except this opinion already covers that and says, well, you know that they're not actually from the wing.
Fingers.
Yeah, just like you know that chicken fingers are not in fact from the fingers of a chicken. I thought they were a little under crunchy to be from the fingers of a chicken, but
yeah, a little large should be some. I mean, it had to be a really big chicken.
Yeah, strictly speaking, I mean, do chickens have fingers? Yes, they in fact do. If you look at the structure of their wing, there are in fact finger bones because a wing is a hand. But at the same time, like that's a very small amount of meat. If it was chicken, it would just be the tiniest the chicken fingers.
See, what's coming next is steak fingers or Rocky Mountain oysters because they're not oysters.
Yeah, they're not oysters at all.
Buffalo wings come from buffaloes. Yeah. Thunder cows.
I mean, I understand, and you know, and sweetbread. It was sweetbread or whatever that is not in fact
sweet or bread. Yeah.
Yeah. So I guess I could, yeah, but well, I don't know. I still feel like despite
this is gonna fuck up the entire episode.
I know. I feel like though that despite the fact that you know, like I think really the crux here that his attorney should have used is like even if you know that that is not in fact wing, you know that because you know that it's breast and there should not be bone in chicken breast. I should have a reasonable expectation that a chunk of chicken breast does not have a bone in it. So I mean, yes, I can see, well, you have a reasonable, you know, you should have reasonable knowledge or expectation that it's, yeah, but the piece of meat that it is, I should have, and then they try to connect it to fish fillets, and it's like, yes, but the fish fillet is down the entire side of the freaking fish.
Buckshot head cheese is not actual cheese.
No.
Put it in your macaroni, bro.
Yeah, it doesn't really melt. You know, and oh man, it just now what if I have boneless fish fillets? Are you telling me that I should expect bones in the fish fillets? What if I have boneless fries? Okay. Should I then? Okay. Well, but that's just a style, and I would like somebody to explain to me what style of cooking boneless is. Because if that's just a style of cooking,
Is it just breading and deep fried?
I mean, but isn't that just breaded and deep fried? Like there are
Yeah.
words for what that is.
Does that make steak fingers a wing?
Is a Salisbury steak like? Well, it's not necessarily made out of steak or Salisbury. In Salisbury or in the style of Salisbury. Like
Chicken fried steak doesn't have any chicken? What?
what? I hate chicken. I just hate the term chicken fried steak. It just drives me nuts. I'm like, that doesn't make sense. Well, you fry it like you do a chicken. That's just called frying. You're making this more complicated than it should.
Schultz has figured it out.
It's when a woman is cooking. That's boneless cooking.
Yeah. But now we have to define what a woman is.
Yeah, I was going to say, but this is why they said that boneless doesn't necessarily mean boneless, because they're already confused about what is and is not boneless as it is. So they already are just like, yeah, the order of boneless pizza, boneless fries. Oh, I got you some boneless potato chips.
See, okay, now boneless pizza, we call the crust of the pizza bone.
No one should do that. Literally, no one should do that. That is a troubling, upsetting thing.
Well, that's what we say. We give the bones to the dogs. All right, if you don't eat the crust of the pizza, you give the pizza bones to the dog.
No, because I enjoy stuffed crust pizza, and I can't enjoy it in the same way if you call it a bone.
Pizza marrow.
It's very troubling.
It's pizza marrow. What are you talking about?
Yeah, well, I mean, but you don't just eat the cheese; you eat the whole crust. And I'm saying, like, you eat down to the crust and you stick it in your mouth. I'm not sticking the bone in my mouth like that. It makes me uncomfortable.
The state of the world in which we live.
Boneless no longer means boneless, which one would presume it obviously should, but not according to Ohio.
Which, I mean, Ohio shouldn't exist in the first place.
Yeah, I'm not entirely certain that it does.
Yeah. Okay. Where do you want to go?
I don't know. I mean, there's not really a good segue from that into any of these.
There's no segue to go off of. Boneless things can have bones.
I mean,
we don't have a story about drag queens. That comment might come back to haunt me.
Yeah, that's or we don't have an article about the Philippines and Thailand.
Okay, let's go to let's make Andrew mad.
Cool.
Let's make Andrew mad. Okay. In 2021, Manistee County, Michigan, took the title on Chelsea Coder's home in response to a small debt she owed on her 2018 property taxes. It was April Fool's Day. The gotcha never came. Her situation instead only grew more absurd 4 months after seizing her home, which she shared with her two sons. The government auctioned it off for $106,500. Then it kept the profit. All told, Coder owed the government $3,863.40, which included her initial tax debt as well as penalties, interest, and fees. Right, so $3,800 with penalties, interest, and fees. So in reality, we're talking like what, maybe $1,500, $1,800.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, it's she made half a payment and forgot to make the other half.
Yeah, something like that. So, All told, Coda owed the government $33,863.40, which included her initial tax debt as well as penalties, interest, and fees. She does not contest that she was obligated to pay that. Issue is what I agree completely. At issue is whether or not the county acted lawfully when it pocketed the remaining $102,636 after selling her house in a practice known as home equity theft.
That absolutely needs to be declared. What?
Oh, it is. We'll get into that. Quote, I had one person tell me they were suicidal because they lost everything they worked for. Christina M. Martin, a senior attorney with the Pacific Legal Foundation who has litigated several home equity cases and who is representing Calder, told me last year, quote, it's hard enough to lose your home, but when you lose all your life savings, that's just beyond devastating. It's completely shocking. It often destroys people. Now, here's the thing. Hold the thing, right? Both the Michigan and U.S. constitutions broadly agree the scheme is illegal.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to look far back to find the recipients, including 2020. The Michigan Supreme Court, remember this is in Michigan. The Michigan Supreme Court ruled in favor of Uri Rafili, whose home was seized by the government when they sold it and kept all the proceedings. Rafili's initial tax debt was $8.41.
Fucking less than $10, and they took his fucking house and then kept all of the profits.
Yes. And Michigan again, Michigan Supreme Court and the U.S. Constitution. I'm sorry, the Michigan Constitution and the U.S. Constitution broadly agree that the scheme is illegal. The Michigan Supreme Court has ruled that it is illegal, and yet Michigan is still doing it.
Yep. Oh, speaking of Supreme Court's ruling that it's illegal.
Go ahead.
The U.S. Supreme Court weighed in on the issue last year, ruling unanimously that Hennepin County, Minnesota violated the Constitution when it seized an elderly woman's home over a property tax debt, sold it, and again, kept the profit. A taxpayer who loses her $40,000 house to the state to fulfill a $15,000 tax debt has made a far greater contribution to the public fisc than she owed, wrote Chief Justice John Roberts, referring to the plaintiff, Geraldine Tyler, who had fallen $2,300 behind on her property taxes. The total ultimately came to $15,000 after penalties, interest, and fees, which itself I would argue is criminal. But the local government then kept the remaining $25,000 in surplus of what she owed.
There's two crimes here, in my opinion. Well, there's three really. Stealing the house, right? Keeping the profit. And penalties, interest, and fee is going from $2,300 to $15,000. That's $12,700 in penalties, interest, and fines and fees.
Yeah, that's insane. That is 300% interest.
That's like 5 times the amount of the actual debt. That's criminal in itself. But okay, moving on. But instead of complying with the straightforward interpretation of the law, Michigan has attempted to dance around it in creative ways, devising a Byzantine debt collection statute that sends homeowners on a wild goose chase should they want to get their equity back. should they want to get their equity back.
Following foreclosure and before any property is sold or the amount of surplus, if any, is known, owners must properly serve a notarized and completed claim form with the foreclosing government unit within 92 days. Approximately a year after foreclosure and many months after the sale of their properties, owners must then file a separate motion in the foreclosure action that took their home, seeking distribution of any surplus proceeds. Erring during any part of that process dooms a claim, allowing the government to simply take someone's equity. So it's been foreclosed on, right? It has to have been foreclosed on, you then have to serve a notarized claim form with the government within 92 days. So it gets foreclosed on. You're worrying about that, trying to figure all that out and what you're going to do. And during that process, you then have to know that you have to file this form. And if you don't know that you have to file that form, then it's just your claim is dead in the water. You'll never get any of your money back.
Yeah.
So you have to preemptively file a paper and then file another paper afterwards saying, yes, I know I preemptively did that, but I would like my money now.
Yep. This gets worse, right?
Of course it does. It's fucking Michigan.
Read ahead. Read that next paragraph.
Cutter is now intimately familiar with what one can lose at the hands of process technicalities and oversights. After falling behind on her taxes, she was able to satisfy her 2019-2020 bills with the help from family. Her 2018 taxes were not fully satisfied, she contends, because of a slip-up from a government employee. At the local office, her father, who was helping her pay her debts, reportedly asked the person assisting him, quote, to verify that all taxes were paid, and they looked up the records and confirmed that I was paying all taxes that were due, according to Cotter's complaint. The employee allegedly missed part of the debt.
Okay. We're going into this one. Okay. So her 2019 taxes were paid. Her 2020 taxes were paid. They seized the house because of 2018 taxes that were slightly underpaid.
You know why they do it in that direction? When you go to pay back taxes, it's because the taxes have to be X amount of age for them to foreclose on your property over them. And so when you go to pay back taxes, it always pays the most recent first and then back, so that it guarantees that if you can't pay all of them, you will still get your house foreclosed on.
The oopsie would set in motion the chain of events that ultimately cost Coder her home. Post seizure, she missed the first deadline, as she was unacquainted with the convoluted process to claim the sale proceeds. Her protests for her funds were subsequently denied by the county and by the Michigan Court of Appeals.
Because she didn't preemptively file a form that they never told her that she would need to file, and there is nothing obvious about the process that would say you need to file it.
At the heart of the case is the taking clause of the Fifth Amendment, which promises, quote, just compensation to people whose property is seized by the government. Michigan's approach essentially makes the argument that the government can skirt the pledge if property owners do not formally notify bureaucrats in a very specific way that they want their constitutional right respected. It sets people up to unwittingly waive away what is supposed to be a basic guarantee.
No, that is not how that's supposed to fucking work. That is not how the Constitution is supposed to work. You don't only get your constitutional rights if you formally request them in writing. That isn't, it's supposed to be that if you're willing to waive those in any situation, you have to formally request that in writing. This is specifically set up to be exactly the opposite of both the spirit and letter of the Constitution. Both the spirit and letter, like they're going out of their way to be as unconstitutional as they can conceivably get.
Yes. Complete opposite.
But this is one of those things though that we see in government constantly now, right? Like
it's a boneless government, right? It has bones.
Yeah, they do in fact have bones. No. We have a constitution. Just because we have a constitution doesn't mean you get any of the rights listed on it. Like that's essentially what Michigan is saying here. Like you have the constitutional right, but only if you ask for it. That is not how that works.
I would like my boneless wings without bones, please.
Yeah, like what? I should have a fucking reasonable expectation that my constitutional rights are simply in force. Yeah, it is. I agree. Requiring an
But yeah,
FFL itself is a formal request for a constitutional right. It
background
is.
checks. Yeah.
Yeah, background checks,
Oh,
all of
oh, and
that stuff.
FPC is going after the 10-day waiting period here in Cali.
Woohoo!
Yeah, they have 14 current lawsuits here in California.
That does not surprise me because I know they're
Oh.
really going after a bunch of Newsom's bullshit
Oh,
and rabidly.
yes. Anyway, another
like,
guy that likes bones in his boneless wings.
Yeah, it's. I mean, this is insane. Your argument that, well, no, you still have your constitutional right. I mean, you just have to ask for it. That is
That's
not
just-
how
that's-
fucking
that's-
rights work.
it's right, but it's like big R, little I, big G, little H.
Yeah.
You know, SpongeBob font, and there's an asterisk.
We'll respect your rights. Like,
Uh-huh.
no, that's. And then when she goes, no, that's my constitutional right. You don't get to do that. Well, you didn't formally follow the process that we
Yeah.
didn't tell you about. And you never officially asked us for your constitutional right.
Oh.
So it's just presumed that you're waiving it within the process that you didn't enter into willingly.
Yeah. Yeah. Post seizure, she missed the first deadline as she was unacquainted with the convoluted process to claim the sale proceeds. Just like go to the DMV. Go try to renew your driver's license. I mean, just saying, go try to get information on your driver's license changed. Go to the DMV and try to do that. I mean, that is easier. That is easier than this process.
Oh, try to get a driver's license in a new state that you just moved to.
Yeah.
That you just moved to.
Yeah.
It's super fun. My favorite part is that most states will require that you bring a piece of mail to prove residency. And if you just moved there, you don't have a piece of mail, but they demand that you change your license over in 30 days or you can get in trouble. But that means that you have to somehow get a piece of mail at your new address within 30 days.
Yeah. Which is
it's insane.
I'll bring in the Amazon package.
Yeah, like, here, I ordered this. You know, my hack for everybody, like I've told people before, like my hack for it when I was moving a lot and stuff and relocating was I would just like write an angry letter to a state senator about something. And then they always reply. They send a reply. Well, that's a government agency, and there you go. There's your piece of mail. Abracadabra, and you can get it in about 3 or 4 days.
So it's just it's so blatant too. That's the Michigan Constitution. The U.S. Constitution says no, this is illegal, right? You can't do this. Remember the Constitution is supposed to be the rules by which the government can play.
Yeah, right? It's supposed to be a restriction on the government, not on people.
Yeah. So, like the Bill of Rights is the list of things the government can't do. Right, and this is a clear violation of the Fifth, the taking clause, of the Michigan Constitution, of the federal Constitution. It's and they're like, oh well, we're not violating it because you have this opportunity to assert your grievances by jumping through this hoop and then cartwheeling and then flying over this vat of crocodiles and you just have to train this lion the right way. And you have to do it all within this certain period of time. And then maybe we'll get back to you in time that your life is not completely fucking ruined by us taking the proceeds from your house because you missed like $1,200 in property taxes like 5 fucking years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, you didn't tell us that you wanted constitutional rights.
Just you know what they need to do is the government just needs to take that money, right? Put it into cash, put it in a paper bag, drop it on the floor, and then bend over, pick it up, and go, oh, finders keepers.
Yeah, I mean that's basically what they fucking do. I mean, it's one thing to have your house taken, like in the case of the one guy, have your house taken over $8, right?
$8.14, right?
That's one thing. But to then be told, by the way, you also don't get any of the money from the sale of your house
Mm-hmm.
is just
Yeah.
unconscionable.
Yeah.
Like, how do these people, like, I actually want, like, some of these people that do this stuff, and like Michigan is horrible about it, right? Like, Michigan is really, really bad.
Yes.
I wonder how these authoritarians like sleep at night. Like, do they actually believe that they're heroic in these scenarios? That they're like doing good for the community?
Just you're a tax collector, right? You're a red coat. You're I mean, like there's no way, unless you are just the absolute biggest narcissistic piece of shit. There's no way that you can think you're doing a good job or that you're doing the right thing.
And it's one of those things, like, think about, like, with what you're doing, think about if you had to explain what you're doing and why to an 8-year-old.
Yeah.
Would it make you feel good, their reaction?
This is like this reminds me of the meme of the young white guy in the suit looking at his phone, and it goes, when you work for BlackRock and you outbid a single mom of 4 for a house. Right, you know the meme I'm talking about.
Yep.
That meme applied to this situation.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I just you are fucking evil.
You're trash.
You are
You
evil.
You are the bone in the boneless wing.
Yeah. That's
You are
infecting things.
You are literally the bone in the boneless wing. You do not belong. You're fucking up everything.
It's one thing, like, and that's like, it's one thing if you're like, oh well, I'm a cop and I'm keeping the street safe, right? And you lie to yourself about that, and that's what your function is. But when your entire function in a job is to take people's houses and then keep all of the proceeds, and like this is a matter of course for you, and you justify it to yourself, like, well, they didn't ask for their constitutional right.
And before
you're evil.
And before you do that, you apply like the taxes and fees and late charges and or interest and all the, and it went from what 1,200 to what 15,000 or 2,300 to 15,000. Like, are you shitting me?
And again, the house is only worth 40 grand.
Yeah, the woman,
nearly 50% of the value of that property was taxes and fees and penalties.
Yeah, and the woman in this case, right? I mean, the what was it, like $106,000 they sold the house for or whatever, and they kept the proceeds of like $102,000. So she owes like, was it like $2,600 or something like that? And that's including interest, fees, and penalties. Right? Including interest, fees, and penalties, which realistically means she owed like, I don't know, $800.
It just,
you took a house over $800 and then kept over $100,000 in profit because she didn't know how to jump through the rings and do a backflip over the alligator cage, or and jump through the flaming hoop and cross the tiger pit in order to get these particular applications in a timely manner.
It's just I mean, but the evil, the tyrannical hubris that you have to go, well, you didn't officially ask for your constitutional rights to be enforced, so therefore you just don't get them. And to feel like that's good, like, I want these people to say out loud what they've done as they look themselves in the mirror.
Yes.
And tell me whether or not they feel good about themselves.
Yes.
Like, do you feel good about what you're doing? Does that make you feel like you're special, that you just took this poor woman's home
Oh, I'm just saying,
and
you
then
know,
pocketed $100,000.
if she had a fortified compound,
Would have been a lot harder to take it. Tell you
yeah,
what.
with some militant boys hanging around.
Well, there was not far from me in Viroqua years and years ago. I mean, it was a really long time ago, but they were going to take a guy's family farm over, I think, like 40 grand or something in back taxes. And they wound up having to deploy their Bearcat. And there were like chunks. I don't know what he was shooting at them, but there were chunks out of that Bearcat from all of the rounds that he expended at the truck. Because where it sat was kind of up on this hill. And so there's just this one narrow driveway to get up there. And so he could just sit there and just pop, 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 pop all the way up the driveway.
Yeah. Don't forget the whole Bundy thing was over taxes too, or taxes and fees.
Yeah. I mean,
read the difference between the Bundy standoff and Ed and Elaine Brown in New Hampshire.
Yep. You'll learn real quick. Well, and this ties in. There's that case right now that Wicked Witch is doing and covering in Pigeon Falls, or Pigeon Forge rather, in Tennessee, where they decided several years before the family purchased the house that they were going to route this highway through this property and around the campground, which coincidentally the mayor of the town, who's part of that planning committee, has a vested interest in because his family owns it. And they routed this through. Well, several years after they made that decision, which was already super shady, these people bought the house without being informed that this decision had been made, because the previous owners didn't even know that the decision had been made. And then the city just took it under eminent domain. And while they were being notified and they were going to go to court to argue it, the city showed up. So this eminent domain, the transfer of ownership hasn't even happened yet. They show up and knock the house down that this family had just dumped all this money into to remodel. And their argument is, well, they're not even from here. They're from Ohio or Indiana or something. Yeah. And that's basically what the city's argument is. Well, I ain't from here. And I'm like, and that's why I hate the American South so much. Right there, because that is the attitude all across the American South, especially Pigeon Forge and the Eastern Kentucky and Northwest, Western North Carolina, Northwestern Georgia. Like that's the attitude throughout that whole mountain, the Appalachians, is, well, you're not from here, so therefore you get no rights.
Yep, that's how you get killdozers.
Yeah, exactly. It's utterly ridiculous. Like, oh, we don't even actually own it yet, but we're tearing it down.
Yes.
What? You don't? No, you don't get to do that. You don't own it. What?
Sounds like I came in at the opportune moment.
Yeah, you want to recap it for him real quick?
Yeah, so basically in Michigan, a woman's house was seized over what probably most likely based on taxes and fees was like $800. But it turns out in Michigan, if you don't preemptively file after a foreclosure over taxes, if you don't preemptively file and say that you want your Fifth Amendment right to be able to get the proceeds from that sale, and then file after the foreclosure auction and say, yes, I would like that right enforced now, and you do it within specific timeframes to specific parts of the government, they just pocket the proceeds of the sale, which is what they did to this woman. They seized it over $2,300 and they sold it for $106.
Yeah. Yeah, and then decided to keep the 102 whatever, 104 whatever. Yeah.
Fantastic.
Even though that scheme is against the Michigan Constitution and the U.S. Constitution.
Yeah, but since when has that mattered to state or federal government ever?
It doesn't. It never matters.
It doesn't.
The government never cares.
Just wait for your day in court.
Yeah. Wait for your day in court. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just like all those times the government investigates itself and finds it did nothing wrong.
Yeah. Speaking of the government investigating itself.
Did I just accidentally segue?
You did.
Did you? Did we?
Yeah, the last article in the list.
Which one's the last article on the list?
The Clayton cited the Whitmer.
Yeah.
Speaking of Michigan, we're even in Michigan already. So
okay. All right, we can segue there. We need to change this from Anarchy Among Friends to Sloped Roof Podcast. So, to also catch Chris up on the big issue of the day.
Oh no.
Okay, so the first article we covered is the hidden article. I didn't post it. But this is the important topic, and it's an ongoing theme throughout the day. Okay, so you remember a couple episodes ago, there was the judge in Indiana that ruled that tacos are just Mexican sandwiches.
Yes.
Okay. Ohio Supreme Court ruled that boneless wings can have bones. And part of the argument used to justify that is that customers know that chickens have bones, and then they should expect bones because chicken meat, comes from chickens, just as they shouldn't expect that chicken fingers contain actual fingers. So yes, boneless wings can have bones.
Yep, the word boneless is now meaningless.
Just like the
Constitution. I was going to say, boneless is had been meaningless for a while if you look at the intersectional bullshit, but
that's where we're at as a culture now. Boneless wings can have bones.
Well, I mean, according to the Intersectional Coalition, a woman can have a dick, so I guess a boneless human can have a bone too. But
so
I'll drop that. Is completely meaningless.
I'll drop that article in the chat so you can read it later if you want. But yes, Ohio Supreme Court rules boneless doesn't mean chicken without bones. Yes. All right, now that we're caught up, we covered this one extensively. Biden cites the farceful FBI-assisted plot to kidnap Gretchen Whitmer as an example of political violence.
Did he do that on purpose, or was that just Biden being Biden again? I mean, I'm not sure anymore.
Which Biden are we talking about, though?
Yeah,
you must still believe Biden is real.
Yeah, that he's still alive, and that's who we're seeing.
I can't share that meme on here, but I'm just saying, there's like 8 different Biden drones. Oh, okay.
And they're all just as incompetent.
The entire thing that he said has got to be one of the funniest things.
Do it.
Okay. He said, we must not go down this road in America. We've traveled it before throughout our history. Violence has never been the answer, whether it's with members of Congress in both parties being targeted in the shot, or a violent mob attacking the Capitol on January 6th, or a brutal attack on the spouse of former Speaker of the House, Nancy Pelosi, or information and intimidation on election officials, or the kidnapping plot against a sitting governor, or an attempted assassination on Donald Trump. Just that entire sentence. Oh my God. The entire, first of all, violence has never been the answer. This country literally exists because of fucking violence.
Oh, there's a fantastic essay written by Jack Donovan called "Violence is Golden." And if literally everything you want, everything that you ask the government for is backed by violence. That's what it comes down to. Everything you want the government for. If you save the whales, right? Well, people are saving the whales by violence.
It checks out.
Violence is the answer. That's what it comes down to. Oh, violence never solves anything. Bullshit.
Any problem can be solved with the judicious use of violence.
If your enemy gets dispatched, you don't have a problem anymore.
Yeah. This country exists because of violence. This country exists in its present form because of violence. And don't forget that Biden is part of the same party that was calling for more violence just a few years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
In fact, that exact party was funding all of the violent rioters getting out of jail so they could go back out and violently riot some more.
Yeah.
This is the same United States government that, Iran Contra. Just throw that one out there.
Yeah.
This is the same, just the shit that he lists, like the violent mob attacking the Capitol on January 6th. Ah, yes, the violent mob that dutifully respected the velvet ropes. That violent mob.
And the only person that died that day as a result of violence was one of the protesters.
Yeah, they were shot by a security guard in the Capitol. Like the brutal attack on the spouse of former Speaker of the House, Nancy Pelosi. You mean with his gay lover? When his gay lover attacked him?
Yeah. All right. I just want to.
Coleman would be proud.
I want to read this one paragraph from Jack Donovan's essay, "Violence is Golden." Just for interjection here. A rule not ultimately backed by the threat of violence is merely a suggestion. States rely on laws enforced by men ready to do violence against lawbreakers. Every tax, every code, every licensing requirement demands an escalating progression of penalties that will, in the end, must result in the forcible seizure of property or imminent imprisonment by armed men prepared to do violence in the event of resistance or non-compliance. Every time a soccer mom stands up and demands harsher penalties for drunk driving or selling cigarettes to minors or owning a pit bull or not recycling, she is petitioning the state to use force to impose her will. She is no longer asking nicely. The viability of every family law, gun law, zoning law, traffic law, immigration law, import law, export law, financial regulation depends on both the willingness and the wherewithal of the group to exact order by force.
Yeah,
I'll drop a link to this essay in the group chat and then in the Telegram chat for the podcast.
I mean, I say this all the time, and I get varying levels of confusion from the cops that I talk to, and I bring that up, where I get pulled over and they're like, why are you threatening? And the first thing I ask them is, why are you threatening me with violence over a peaceful act?
Yep.
Well, I'm not threatening you. Oh, really? What would you do if I didn't stop?
Yep.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I just watched a video the other day of a woman who a cop tried to pull over for a minor traffic violation, and she doesn't stop. So he pit maneuvers her, and she winds up, because of the pit maneuver, getting into a head-on collision.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Yeah. When you bring that up to them, that you're threatening to kill me the second you flip those lights on, and then you back it up by saying, well, what happens if I don't pull over? They don't like that.
No.
Yeah. No, they don't.
It makes them short circuit, and it's hysterical and frightening at the same time.
Well, yeah, it's frightening because they can also kill you at will.
Yeah, the inclusion of the would-be Whitmer kidnappers is a bit of a continued gaslighting by the Biden administration, because the plot was in large part concocted and encouraged by paid FBI informants and the bureau and their bureau handlers. 12 of the 14 that were arrested were feds or Fed informants.
Actually, 13 of the 14 were, but one of them was, I guess, let go as an informant. Halfway through.
Okay, yes. And then 24 of the 40 overall. The others that provided material support or whatever. 24 of the 40 overall were feds.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, think about it. He's going, well, this is political violence. I agree, but not in the way you might think.
Right.
Not the way that you meant that, though, bud.
This is more Operation Northwoods and less Insurrection E.
Blah, blah, blah. Whitman before the 2020 presidential election grabbed national headlines and stroked fears of rising right-wing extremism. However, the federal case against the plotters unraveled as court documents and news investigations revealed that the FBI used no less than a dozen confidential informants and 2 undercover agents to gather intel on the group. As Reason noted previously, quote, during a June 2020 meeting highlighted by the FBI, for example, it was an informant who argued that kidnapping was necessary. We have a saying in my office, FBI special agent told a confidential informant in the case, quote, don't let the facts get in the way of a good story.
I mean, that sums up just about everything related to the feds in general, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty effectively. And like it points out, two of the defendants were acquitted, 2 were only convicted after a mistrial that completely threw the FBI. And that was because they brought up all of the FBI involvement and how the FBI had masterminded, and then it was all the FBI the entire fucking
training.
time.
When they went to training, right? When they went to go shoot and learn small unit tactics, that was run by an FBI agent. I mean, come on now.
Buckshot, I believe the one that
Captain
that
Autism.
was autistic.
Yeah, they called him Captain Autism.
Yeah, it's, I mean, you know, and the author of this article, I love that he points out his previous it's always the feds article.
Yeah, it's always the feds.
Yeah. I mean, but that's the thing, you know, we've covered that so much about all these times where the FBI fabricates ex nihilo all of these plots. Like they just constantly are doing that and have since the days of J. Edgar Hoover.
Yeah.
Yes.
Constantly. I mean, there was a big plot back in the 20s or whatever that involved communist agitators or whatever that the FBI supposedly busted, and like embarrassingly realized that 2 different departments of the FBI were running each half of this undercover operation. It was entirely the FBI.
That reminds me of that Detroit drug house where the drug house is being run by undercovers, and then the sting was led on them by undercovers.
Yeah.
Because they were from 2 different precincts, and the house was like right on the line.
No, one was sheriff, one was city.
Is that what it was?
Yeah. They're 2 different agencies.
Still funny as hell.
Yeah.
But I mean, like, that's the thing is like, this is, you know, and what's insane is no matter how many times you talk about this, right, with normies, no matter how much you go out of your way to bring up all of these operations and all these things, no matter how much you talk about, you know, Operation Northwoods or anything else, no matter how many videos come out, like it's still like a viral TikTok sound. That's the next time somebody tells you the government wouldn't do that, remember, yes, they would. And
not only would they have,
and they will again.
They're just recycling their flags now.
Yeah. I mean, and that's the thing is like, no matter how many times though you tell people that, like, a ton of these normies still cling to this idea that they can trust the media, that they can trust what the government is saying, that there's anybody in government or, you know, in celebrity life or anything that they can believe in and trust. They will continue to believe that no matter how many times you prove to them that it's all bullshit, that it is smoke and mirrors.
Isn't it really telling that belief in the government, belief in the media, belief in government agencies varies depending on who's in the White House?
Yeah. You know what I miss? I miss back in the 2001, the George W. Bush era Democrats that were like anti-war and didn't believe the government and were all conspiracy theorists and like understood that you can't believe what the hell the government's trying to sell you. And I miss those times.
And now it's equally spread between both parties.
But he held up a vial of powder, Andrew.
And now it's equally distributed on both the R's and the D's, and they're both willing to deep throat it depending on if their guy's in office or not.
There are no R's or D's anymore.
No, it's the Uniparty.
Yeah. It's just one party. I mean, don't forget that like several of the founding fathers actually warned that like if we ever wound up in a two-party system, that would be it.
Washington's farewell speech.
Yeah.
Washington's farewell speech. He
Well,
warned against creating parties.
Wasn't it also Franklin who said it's your republic if you can keep it?
If you can keep it. Yeah. A republic if you can keep it.
Yeah. So we don't need to beat the bush on this one too much, right?
Yeah. It's or
no,
you know,
the flying shoes did a good enough job of that, I think.
Okay. 76% of June tax recipients, 76% of June tax receipts were used to pay the interest on the national debt.
Yep. 76% of your income taxes went straight out to the creditors who own the $34 trillion
nearly 35
in federal debt. Nearly $35 trillion in federal debt.
Yep. No. We have that going for us. So how about that compound, Andrew?
Right? Is it time to build that yet? Like, I mean, and the thing is like I love the America is going bankrupt. No, we are bankrupt. We've been bankrupt. That's why we have more than $30 trillion in debt. We had to raise the debt ceiling.
That's 35. That's 35 trillion in funded debt.
Yeah, we also have $150 trillion in unfunded liabilities.
Yeah, unfunded liabilities, right? All that debt, all that college debt, all the tax debt, all the credit card debt, all the car payment debt, all the house payment debt. It's just
not, and more than that, you've also got all of the bills that have been passed through the years where they're like, oh, we won't need money for this, we need money for that, but it was all on delayed allocation.
Yep.
So there's all of that shit sitting out there too.
Yep. And don't forget that Social Security is supposed to be funded by Social Security taxes. All right, but Social Security is going to be bankrupt by like 2034 or 2030 or something like that.
Yeah, and the reason Social Security is going to be bankrupt is because originally when the law was written, there were two things that have now become completely just things of the past. The first one was that legally it could not be used as an identification, the number. That's long gone. The second one is that it was never supposed to be borrowed from because it was being held onto by the federal government, and being guaranteed by the federal government, but it was always supposed to be funded by the taxpayers themselves. And then the baby boomers decided to vote to start borrowing from it because they wanted all of their welfare and entitlement schemes.
Yes.
Reaganomics.
What I was going to say, that was all a result of the Republicans, if anybody wants to argue about that.
Yep, so we don't need to beat the bush on that one anymore. The government's full of people that like bones in their boneless wings.
Yeah.
The government's full of people who like putting bones in the American taxpayer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Bend over, here comes the boneless wing.
What is that acronym, Andrew, from the Army? BOHICA?
BOHICA, yeah. Bend over, here it comes again.
Yep.
Yeah. This is the first presidential election since 1976 without a Bush, Biden, or Clinton on the ticket.
God.
I'm going to read that again. Okay. I'm going to read that again. This is the first presidential election since 1976 without a Biden, Bush, or Clinton on the ticket. That means I'm the oldest one here. I'm 44 years old. That means in my lifetime, we have not had a presidential election without a Biden, Bush, or Clinton on the ticket.
Just process that.
I don't know if you guys are aware of this, but damn it, I wish the Japanese were hungrier.
There's a lot of things that I'm not gonna go into on this podcast.
I mean, consider like that we're not supposed to have dynasties, right, in the United States. That isn't supposed to be a thing.
That was part of the reason why they passed the amendment that instituted term limits for the fucking president, is because FDR kept running.
Yep. So America won't see a candidate named Biden, Bush, or Clinton on the ballot this November. The last time that happened was 1976, America's bicentennial. For relevance, the movie Dazed and Confused takes place in 1976. So
the last time that there was not a Bush, a Clinton, or a Biden in a presidential election. Let me see. What was the gas price the last time?
76? Wasn't that the gas? Weren't the gas shortages going on at that point in time?
The average price of gas in 1976 is 56 cents per gallon, which was a 3-cent increase from the previous year. Adjusted for inflation, the price would still only be $1.81 per gallon.
So in the since 1976, we've lost 3x our money.
I paid $4.89 the other day, and I was
$3.25.
And I was happy it was under $5.
Well, you live in California, so
I live in the Bay Area in California.
Well, in the day, I mean, just think about that though, because that means that during the gas crisis, like the end of it, it was kind of coming to an end. But during the height of the gas crisis, you were still paying less per gallon than you are now, which is already insane. But then again, consider it was 50 cents a gallon the last time that we didn't have one of those three
Bush,
families
Clinton,
involved in a presidential election.
It was the same year that Hank Aaron hit his 755th and final home run. Romanian gymnast Nadia Comaneci scored a perfect 10 on the uneven bars at the Montreal Olympic Games.
That's impressive.
Steve Jobs, RIP, Steve Jobs and Steve Wozniak founded Apple Computers Incorporated in California. The first commercial flight of the Concorde took passengers from London to Bahrain and then from Paris to Rio de Janeiro. So,
hypersonic air travel needs to come back for transoceanic flights.
So, 1976, it was Jimmy Carter versus Gerald Ford. Ford ultimately selected Robert Dole, or it's Bob Dole for those playing at home, to his running mate.
I'm Bob Dole.
And Jimmy Carter selected Walter Mondale. Good old Walter.
You know, after when we were moving my mom out of her house to move in with my sister, we found a Mondale button, like campaign button, in her jewelry box.
Yeah.
My grandmother still has an I Like Ike one.
Yeah. And then Carter became president with 297 electoral votes. And then 1980, so this is the year that I was born. Ronald Reagan was presidential nominee, and George H.W. Bush. And then the incumbent Jimmy Carter and Walter Mondale.
I'd like to point out that the
Reagan
only
and Bush won with 489 electoral votes.
That tells you how horrible Jimmy Carter was.
Yes.
Well, if you know anything about Jimmy Carter, although honestly, even Jimmy Carter could run this country better than.
Yes. Biden and Harris are absolutely worse than Jimmy Carter.
Okay, and then 1984, you get Ronald Reagan, H.W. Bush again. And then the Democrats ran Walter Mondale and Geraldine Ferrero, the first woman vice president candidate for a major political party. And Reagan won with 525 electoral votes.
That's not a landslide.
Yeah. And then we got a Bush and Quayle. Fucking Dan Quayle.
Dan Quayle. You know, when Dan Quayle got out of politics, like as somebody who, you know, who has to deal with what he did, I was happy. But as a comedian, I wept.
And we got Bush and Quayle versus Michael Dukakis.
Fucking Dukakis.
And Lloyd Benson of Texas. And then Bush won with 426. And here's the big one. Bush and Quayle again.
Versus Clinton and Gore.
Bill Clinton and Al Gore.
I invented the internet.
Yeah. Bush Clinton won, or Clinton Gore won with 370.
freaking Gore was, or Tipper Gore was the leader of the latter part of the Satanic Panic surrounding rock music,
That
80 or Dungeons and Dragons, Magic the Gathering.
The Tipper Gore, the video of Dee Snider addressing Tipper Gore on the Senate floor.
That is fantastic.
Fantastic.
Mhm.
I love that.
Yes.
But yeah, I
Dee
remember
Snider's a
I remember
solid
in
dude.
1993,
He's a piece of shit now, but
is
yeah.
it 94? I think it was 94. My cousin had taught me how to play Magic the Gathering, and my mom went off the deep end.
Mhm.
You're gonna go to hell for playing that devil shit. Bitch, it's a fucking game.
Yeah, it's how dare you play make believe as a child?
Yeah.
Right?
Oh, here's the fun one. Remember, I know you guys remember this one. 2000. George W. Bush and Dick
Bush
Cheney
and Gore.
versus Al Gore and Joseph Lieberman.
Your
Joe
chads are
Lieberman.
hanging.
Your chads are dimpled.
I still remember the campaign signs that people were putting out after it was over.
Your chads
with
have
sore
bones.
loserman.
Yeah.
The funny thing about that too is like you remember like when Trump started like going off about how the election was suspect and blah blah blah, and they were all just like, just shut up, like we don't do that just because we lose. And I'm like,
I demand a recount.
Just a few elections ago, that was all you guys were doing, was doing nothing but going.
Didn't it go to the Supreme Court?
It did.
Went to the Supreme
Bush
Court.
v. Gore.
That's right. Bush v. Gore went to the Supreme Court, and they had to decide the definition of a dimpled Chad versus a hanging Chad.
Yep.
There was a video
That's
that had
it.
come out.
We need bones and boneless wings to go to the Supreme Court. We need a Supreme Court ruling on whether boneless wings can have bones.
I mean, I was hoping for that, but I didn't want to say anything.
Yeah.
Because I am deeply personally invested in this now. Because
that is an oral argument at the Supreme Court that I would actually tune into.
An oral argument about bones?
Yes.
Bones. I just want to see the state with a serious face say that you can't expect boneless, or you can't expect boneless wings to be boneless, and expect chicken fingers to be not made out of actual chicken fingers.
So what is a chicken finger?
Exactly.
It's a chicken finger, an actual chicken finger, like the dish that's called a chicken finger, is made of literally the exact same thing as boneless wings. Yeah. It's made out of chicken breast.
It's just longer strips.
It's like the inner part of the chicken breast. It's
like nugget, chicken finger, or boneless wing, chicken finger.
It's all basically from the same part of the damn bird.
Yeah, it's like the chicken strip, same thing. Yeah. Yes, I demand a recount on everything.
What about Burger King's chicken fries? They're not made out of like, they're fries. They're not made out of potatoes.
They're not the king of burgers. I'm sorry, McDonald's outsells you. So we got to go with that first.
I mean, they're both disgusting. Don't get me wrong.
Yes. Culver's all the way.
Yes.
Yeah. Give me Culver's. Give me Hardee's. Give me Arby's.
In-N-Out.
But
actually, In-N-Out, Smash Burger. No. McDonald's, Burger King. Fuck that.
There's so many other chains you could go to that aren't disgusting and will, like induce vomiting.
Or better yet, go to your local bar. I guarantee you they have a much better burger for about the same money.
Probably cheaper, actually. Have you seen McDonald's prices lately?
Right.
Here in California with the $20 minimum wage.
Ugh.
Jesus Christ.
2012 Mitt Romney and Paul Ryan.
Oh, that was just a nightmare. That one was actually really funny. I remember that one because I remember that was one of the ones where even the Republicans were like, "Yeah, we don't have anything."
McCain and Palin.
Oh, that one. Well, I mean, that one produced some fabulous jokes.
The
memes were glorious.
And then there was that adult star who looked like Sarah Palin.
Palin.
Yeah, Nailing Palin. There's also what's her name on Saturday Night Live that did a fantastic impression
that
of her,
was
and
awesome.
they had her on Saturday Night Live, and they like pass each other and stuff, and yeah, those were good. I miss the days when we could joke about stuff like that on TV, and now every time like Saturday I catch moments of Saturday Night Live, or at least the scraps of what's left of it. Yeah, it's like just the most wokey, ridiculous, and it's like, ha ha ha, conservatives.
The only part of
ha,
Saturday Night
Christians,
Live I find even remotely entertaining anymore is the Weekend Report.
Yes.
Because I'm waiting to see what shit they're pulling on each other.
Yes.
See, those are great.
Yeah.
Those are good. I do watch those on like.
Did you guys see the one?
Like,
did you see the one where?
And that dude didn't that dude pull down Scarlett Johansson?
Yeah, Colin Jost. His wife is Scarlett Johansson.
Oh, I hate him.
But Shay, the other day was, or the last one I saw,
bone in his boneless wing.
Was talking about a woman from Nazi Germany who was let out of prison because she was put in prison as a result of World War II and her role in all of the concentration camp stuff. She was released and she was living. He said she's been released from prison and is currently living with her grandson. And it showed a picture of Colin. It's like, oh, that's fantastic.
Some of the races, like the black dude's so much meaner. Like
he is. He absolutely
constantly is just making the other dude just say the
most
nastiest,
shit.
Horrible. Yeah, just constantly, and he'll get to it on the prompter and just stop and be like, I hate you so much. And
you're gonna get me beat up.
Yeah.
Or killed. I've heard him say, "You're gonna get me killed," or he'll say, put something on there that bashes Scarlett.
Yeah,
and he'll, after he gets done reading the prompt, he goes, "I'm sorry, honey. I love your movies."
Yes. All right. All right. Let's talk about one of our favorites, FPC.
Hell yeah.
Yes. Fuck That's.
Well, here. That's now I have to change hats because we're talking about FPC.
Are we going to talk about the fuck thing on Twitter? Is that what we're going to talk about?
I must have missed that.
The Reason article that I shared.
Well, I don't. Which one is from Reason?
Firearms Policy Coalition takes no prisoners in sharp response to thin-skinned Maine governor.
Yes.
I watched this happen in real time on Twitter, and it was one of the greatest things I've ever seen because in the wake of this, FPC has gotten even nastier.
Yes.
Which is awesome.
Which is fantastic.
It's just glorious every time. They're just like, well, the world also doesn't need a giant pile of shit. Yet here we are.
Back
FPC
in December
and Phoenix Ammunition. If you're on X or if you're on Twitter and you don't follow them, you need to.
You know who it reminds me of? It reminds me of the old SOE with John whatever I don't remember his last name, but like they would criticize his takes, and he would turn their name into discount codes.
Yes.
Right? It'd be like, oh, and this week use Jack Black is a bitch for 15% discount.
It was freaking great.
Oh, those were good days. Okay. Back in December, during an interview with a local NBC affiliate about blunders by officials in the lead up to the Lewiston mass shooting, Maine Governor Janet Mills left the door open to tighter gun restrictions, including a ban on so-called assault weapons. The segment was picked up and publicized by the Maine Wire, a conservative-leaning news site. It's really not. The outlet's post, in turn, drew a pungent comment from the Firearms Policy Coalition, a pugnacious self-defense rights group that pulls no punches when it comes to defending individual liberty. So, of course, the governor's office went crying to the cops.
And when they got the notices and they got their hands on the paperwork, they also retweeted those.
Yes.
Oh yeah, and I have to. I grabbed this patch and it's absolutely
yes. Quote, documents obtained by the Maine Wire via a Freedom of Access Act shows that Governor Janet Mills' personal personnel referred social media posts from the Firearms Policy Coalition and the Maine Wire to the state police, flagging them for the governor's executive protection unit. The posts in questions were entirely unthreatening, except perhaps two sensitive feelings. The Maine Wire added nothing to the video clip except for a short summary of the content. Quote, Governor Mills is leaving the door open for a possible assault weapon ban following the Lewiston shooting. There's nothing threatening there.
Nope.
Right.
FPC. I remember reading this entire thread. There was nothing threatening in anything FPC posted.
The FPC was characteristically a little sharper.
Just
quote, hey, at Gov Janet Mills, 3 words, fuck you, no.
Fuck you, no.
Right here.
Fuck you, no. That's a short, to the point, and perhaps a bit sharp, but implies no threats whatsoever. Nevertheless, the Maine Wire found emails showing the Mills press secretary passed a link to the post around the office, and that, quote, another staffer immediately forwarded the post to the Maine State Police employee responsible for protecting the governor.
Hey, state police.
It's better.
Yes. According to Robertson, this isn't the first time officials in the Democrat-led state government have tried to get the outlet in legal hot water. Emails revealed the office of Maine Secretary of State Sheena Bellows questioning if an article illustrates depicting a stylized presidential ballot featuring only the Joe Biden-Kamala Harris ticket qualified as a, quote, fake ballot, since it showed the state seal. This happened after Bellows tried to boot Republican Donald Trump from the state's presidential primary ballot.
Yeah, that was wild.
You know, this gets better though, because ultimately it wound up getting the complaint wound up getting forwarded to the FBI, who then released an official reply that FPC got their hands on and retweeted, of them basically going, I know that this offends you, but in no way is a government official being offended a crime.
Yep.
Which is just like another feather in the cap, you know?
Oh, FPC is fantastic. Their social media team is awesome.
FPC, let's just say feather in the caps. FPC has a whole fucking headdress.
Oh, absolutely.
Feathers in their caps. Their boneless wings are actually boneless. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
Them in Phoenix. Between them and Phoenix, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's hilarious because like I love seeing and I've seen, this isn't the first time that they've had stuff reported, right? Like they've also, like, there was some anti-gun zealot that was going off, and they had said like, oh, are you going to be in the stack then there, Randy? You
David
gonna
Hogg. Yeah. That was David Hogg. Or no, that was David Hogg. That was one of the other,
basically a stack.
That was one of the parents or one of the other guys from Parkland.
Yeah, and they were like, were you going to get in the stack? You think that's going to go well? Are you under the impression? And all they said was, if you try to kick in every door of every gun-owning American, people are going to die. You know, that is what they said.
It's okay.
And
gun confiscation. Gun confiscation is the left's version of the right to deport them all.
Yeah.
It's not gonna happen.
It'll never happen. It's unrealistic and logistically impossible.
I mean, it would be very entertaining the moment they tried, because that's when everything gets real spicy.
That's when these shirts become very interesting.
Loot drops.
Yeah, I mean,
I have
3A2, absolutely.
I have seen training videos of the DEI Army.
Even if they called out the National Guard to do it, most people who have had any, I was going to say, most of the people who have had any interaction with the National Guard will look at that and go, I always wanted an A2.
Like, oh, cool, free trucks.
Right. Oh, look, no keys. Let's go.
I actually yesterday
we're gonna have so many confiscated M2s on the walls of our compound.
I was actually just
maybe a couple Mark 19s.
Homesteaded.
Yes, it's finders keepers.
Strategically transported equipment to an alternate location.
Yes, exactly.
Yes.
No, the I just yesterday I had a conversation with somebody at the car show, and we were laughing about Humvees and that there's no keys. And they're like,
Mhm.
"What do you mean there's no keys?" I'm like, "Seriously?" I was like, "Look at a Humvee sometime. There is no key. There is nothing. If the door is open, you can start it and drive away. Like, they might have the steering lock on and you got to get the steering lock off, but that's it. Like, there's a pair of switches. You wait until the little light goes green and on. All right.
Yep.
Like, there's
Yeah,
not that
you just
much
have
there.
to wait for the glow plugs to heat up. That's all it is.
Oh, the magnetos. You got to wait on magnetos.
Is
But
it magnetos?
yeah, they have it. I mean, because it's a standard thing that's been in military vehicles forever, and it's the same thing that's in an Abrams for the most part. It's the same thing that's in every other military vehicle that
Mhm.
isn't an aircraft, because aircraft are a little more complicated. But all of the regular vehicles that
You
a
think?
grunt may potentially have to use, it's the same startup sequence, and once you know it, you can just take stuff and go because it's not like it's locked.
Every FPC tweet is literally a January 6th.
That according to some, there's I mean,
According
I've
to the
seen
governor of Maine, or maybe Governor Whitmer.
Newsom doesn't like him. I think Newsom has actually has him blocked.
he
Eh.
might.
Newscum can eat an entire bag of dicks, and he probably would.
He probably has.
More
I'm
than
sure
more
he
than
has
likely.
at this point.
And
He-
on top of that, I'm pretty sure the current vice president Democrat nominee has eaten Newsom's dick. So I mean, it works out maybe.
God, you had to go there.
I did,
Yep.
because
Yeah,
we
he
went
did.
from President pee pads to Vice President knee pads.
Oh,
I mean,
okay. The memes have been fantastic,
yeah, they
Mhm.
have truly
and-
glorious.
and the
Undeniable.
collapsitarian in me is so fucking excited.
Oh,
yeah.
yes. Especially, I
Oh.
mean, could you imagine if she won, how quickly things would devolve?
Okay. But the greatest thing that I have seen this election cycle since Joe Biden dropped out is people flying "Let's go Brandon" flags at half mast.
I have seen that. It's fantastic.
Oh,
The death of a meme. It's the end of an era.
I just
That's why the
oh,
Let's Go Brandon shirt that I have, I got from Brandon Herrera, because it has a
Mhm.
picture of the AK-50 on it.
Yeah.
So it's a double meaning.
mm,
And I will say, I kind of want to get behind the AK-50. That thing looks like fun.
yes, please.
It's already in a video game.
I'm not surprised. I'm
It's in Call of
absolutely
Duty.
not surprised. Which
Yep.
game?
It's in Call of Duty. It was in Call of Duty within like 4 days.
Outsiders, including Apex, spent what is it, like $2.5 million campaigning against Brandon Herrera.
Not even just that. Just the Tony Gonzalez campaign. They outspent Brandon Herrera 10-1.
10-1.
And he lost by 400 votes.
Yeah, and that's not including the outside money.
No, that's just the direct campaign itself. That's not the PACs or no. It was just the Tony Gonzalez campaign.
Yeah.
10-1.
Yeah. No.
Don't worry though, elections aren't influenced by money. All we need is just for the government to put more restrictions on it, because the way that you get government to regulate government is to ask government very nicely to regulate itself.
Violence is golden. Just
Yeah.
saying.
Well, yeah, I mean, and that's one of the things I love
Remember,
about
it's only a war
FPC
crime the
is
first time.
can't be a war crime if you had fun, kids.
That's
But-
right.
It's not a war crime if you win.
That's true. That's true.
That is true too.
Just like it's also not treason if you win.
It's not a war crime if you're Canadian. I have told multiple people. Like I've made references to Canadians and war crimes, and they're always like, "What?" And I'm like, "Oh, look that up."
Oh yes.
They could have given Unit 731 a instructional course in war crimes.
There's a
between
reason
what they did in World War I and World War II.
Yes. There's a reason the Canadians call it the Geneva checklist.
Yeah, they were. Holy crap! Like you start reading about, it, you're like, oh, you,
Yes.
oh my! Like
Well,
they
that's
lull
what it
you
is.
into a false sense of fucking
It's
security.
because they're so nice, right? They have all that pent up aggression that they can't release. You know.
So world wars are
I mean,
basically Canadian
you can,
purges.
you can only aggressively eat so many Tim Horton, donuts, and it's not going to release the tension.
It's
No,
I mean,
you need Kamala Harris for that.
No, you can't fuck a moose.
I mean, I'm sure.
I mean, I'm sure Canadians have
There
tried.
you go. Exactly.
I'm sure
Buckshot.
Canadians have tried.
Exactly. When the sorry stops, the war crime starts.
Absolutely.
Oh no, they don't stop
Canada,
saying sorry. They
no, if you hear the Canadians go,
sorry.
I'm about to stop saying sorry, that's when everybody in the world goes,
Run.
Shit.
Run.
When the US goes, that's like the US going, did you just touch my boats?
When the Minnesotan doesn't say oops.
Yeah.
Or the Wisconsinite doesn't say ope.
Ope.
Yeah. Ope.
Oh no, we still say it though, as we're committing the war crimes. Oops, sorry about that.
That's true.
It's still having. I got asked if I was Canadian the other day on the phone, and I was deeply offended.
Wisconsin, for anybody who's not from Wisconsin who might stumble across this, Wisconsinites and Canadians hate each other.
Yeah.
With a passion.
Absolute
Minnesotans, now especially northern Minnesotans, they don't mind Canadians because they kind of have to deal with them regularly.
Well,
but Wisconsinites and Canadians, I mean, if there was ever a state that went to war with a country, it would be Wisconsin and Canada.
I hate Wisconsin because they gave Jordan Love 4 years, $220 million.
We do that stuff like that all the time, though.
And it tends to work out because they did the same thing to Aaron Rodgers in the middle of an 8-8 season.
I was saying Rodgers, remember, everybody said the same thing about Rodgers. Like, why would you give him all that money? That's ridiculous. And then he proved why you do that.
Yeah.
Now, to be fair, as a Packer fan, I'm sitting here going, but did we have to? We had him locked up for another season.
You know what the worst part about it is? Because now Brock Purdy's price goes up.
That's okay. I'm fine with it.
It's not.
Yeah, I'm absolutely fine with that. Because fuck the Niners.
Anything, literally anything that is going to make the Niners not make it to even the playoffs, that would be great. I'm all for that. We can just keep them out of the playoffs.
You know that it's the odds, the Vegas bettors. It's Kansas City in the AFL, and in the NFC, it's Niners, Packers, Niners, Lions, and Bengals are the favorites.
I don't know what
Niners and Packers in the NFC, and Bengals and Chiefs in the AFC right now. Or not Chiefs. Chiefs and Bengals. Yeah. They're those are the four favorites right now.
Yeah, something like that.
I mean, I can see the Niners, but I don't know about.
I'm not sure about the Packers. I mean, don't get me wrong; they definitely overperformed last year.
Yes.
But that second half of the season was lights out, and if they can replicate that, cool. I mean, we're in fucking business.
Yeah. All right, let's jump on this last article real quick. Since we don't need to go more FPC. I mean, everybody knows FPC at this point.
Say everybody knows they're like the greatest of the greatest of the anti-gun or the anti-gun organizations.
Yes.
That they're just absolutely fantastic. And
yes.
I would love to work for them, but when I talked to him the last time, the position that I was looking at, I had to move to Las Vegas for, which I don't want to do.
I don't want to do it either, but I'm telling you right now, if they were looking for somebody to work in their IT department, that would be worth it to me to move to Las Vegas.
All right. DOJ doubles down on claim that medical marijuana patients endanger public safety if they own guns.
The only thing they endanger is a fucking box of Oreos. Fuck you.
God, that fucking accent just makes it so much better when you say shit like that.
I mean, this is this age old shit. Like, don't forget either that the only reason that marijuana wound up illegal in the United States was because the organization that was in charge of enforcing it needed to make up a reason why they still needed to exist, and that was the predecessor to the ATF.
Yeah. That's why marijuana has a J instead of an H. It's because it sounds more evil. Yeah. Because
it sounds more Hispanic that way.
Yes.
And
Okay. Hold on.
Hispanic.
Hold. Put your hand over your mouth for this next for one paragraph.
It's watermelon season.
Yes. Watermelon right now is crack. Watermelon and honeydew are going off here, and they are fantastic. 29 cents a pound.
The muskmelon and the cassava have not quite made peak ripeness, but they're getting close.
Yeah, okay. The Justice Department is doubling down on its position that medical marijuana patients who possess firearms, quote, endanger public safety, quote, pose a greater risk of suicide.
What?
And are more likely to commit crimes, quote, to fund their drug habit, justifying in the government's eyes a federal ban on gun ownership by cannabis consumers.
No. My oldest suffers from massive levels of depression, and she medicates herself with maybe a little bit of grass on the regular, and she doesn't need SSRIs as a fucking crutch because she medicates with a plant.
Yes, I agree, Shells. I completely concur.
I'm with you, Shaller. I'm absolutely with you.
But the pose a greater risk of suicide. The thing is this is them manipulating correlation and causation. The thing is do medical marijuana patients tend to commit suicide on a higher level than average people? Yes, they do. However, you also have to remember they also tend to be chronic pain sufferers.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
That's how you get a medical marijuana certificate, is you have to have a chronic medical issue. People widely, and this is a conversation I've had several times with people. People highly underestimate or completely ignore the effects that a chronic disease or chronic pain or chronic illness has on the mental health.
Yes.
There is a level of depression that comes in there that is widely understudied.
Well, yeah, I mean, and people, people tend not to understand, like, the whole, like, knowing that you're sick, knowing that you are never going to not be sick, you are never going to be better, and especially when it's pain, and knowing that you are never not going to be in pain.
And the whole mental aspect of not being able to do what you used to do, to want to do something and physically not be able to do it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that takes a serious toll. And, like, so trying to say, oh, well, the medical marijuana patients, they're more, it has nothing to do with the marijuana. It's everything to do with the thing that the marijuana is treating.
Yes.
And that's what it is. And the more likely to commit crimes to fund their drug habits, I think you're confusing medical marijuana with opioid painkillers there, bucko.
Yeah.
That wouldn't have anything to do with the fentanyl crisis, would it?
Fentanyl or Vicodin or.
But I mean, that's what
ketamine.
It is, though. Like there's no people are not sucking dick behind a 911 for a dime bag. Okay, that doesn't fucking happen.
They'll do it for a nice draw up of their fucking heroin, or even a bump of coke. Or they'll do it for that.
We need the government to funnel cannabis into the inner cities.
I think there's enough of it in the inner cities.
I was gonna say, I don't think that the inner cities need anything else being funneled in when it comes to marijuana. I think they're good.
I don't think they really need anything funneled in terms of any drugs.
Behind 9/11, yeah, you heard of Buckshot. It's behind 9/11.
Yeah,
one of my all-time favorite memes shows the smoke rising out of Ground Zero on 9/11, and it says New York legalizes cannabis.
Yeah.
Oh, that may have been poorly thought out, making that.
I don't know. I thought it was fucking hilarious.
Quote, armed drug users endanger the public in multiple ways. The Justice Department said in its new filing in a cannabis and gun case, adding the Supreme Court ruling in the United States versus Romani demonstrated that governments are afforded, quote, significant leeway to enact firearms regulations. Quote, individuals who possess firearms while engaged in regular use of illegal drugs endanger public safety in multiple ways.
That Rahimi case was bullshit, by the way.
First, drug users may mishandle firearms or use firearms to commit crimes because of drug-induced changes in psychological function, cognitive ability, and mood.
The fuck?
Yes.
You know, if I'm stoned, the last thing that I'm thinking is, hey, I want to go out and play with a firearm. Like, what I'm generally thinking is, man, I really hope I didn't eat all of the Skittles the last time. Like,
or better yet, is like, you know what would sound really good right now? A fucking pizza.
Yeah.
Oh man, why'd you have to say pizza? Now I want pizza.
Yeah. It's just all those.
Go get a $5 hot and ready, Andrew.
That's what it is. It's all those cannabis users committing suicide because they reach for their phone and they accidentally grab their gun and they put the gun to their head and pull the trigger instead of dialing the pizza place.
Like
even if they did that, they'd miss and they'd shoot the guy upstairs.
No, it's and they get so angry that their boneless wings have bones that they go on shooting sprees.
I mean,
if I ordered boneless wings and it came with bones, I might be willing to build a killdozer over that.
Yeah,
I mean, you know, the thing is too is like you gotta wonder with these people, like, have you ever been stoned?
No, they haven't.
Like, have you like that's no?
My personal favorite is when they asked Kamala Harris whether or not she smoked marijuana, and she laughed about it after jailing how many people for the simple possession of marijuana.
Hundreds. And then keeping them in jail because they were working in prison industries.
Yeah, or as firefighters.
Yeah,
that was one of my personal favorites. Keeping people in prison so they could have firefighters to fight the wildfires in California.
Yeah,
that were the result of government fucking policies.
Yep. Oh, fucking
Shaller, that makes me sad. Fuck off.
Hot and readies are $7.50 now.
Yep.
Yeah, they're $8.99 here.
Jesus Christ.
Yep. We used to live in a proper society.
We absolutely used to live.
We used to live in a society without bones in their fucking boneless wings.
Yeah, understood what the hell boneless means. You gotta stop trying to take drinks when Jason says it.
we had boneless wings and boneless women.
Woo!
We were a proper country. There was a time.
Now we have bones in our women and in our wings.
I mean, in a woman is where I prefer to have my bones.
On our women. We have bones on our women.
Oh,
it's our job to put bones in our women.
Oh, that's it. We're running for office, Andrew.
Shaller, you know that if I had taken a big bong hit, that I'd be in an ambulance right now. So shut up.
Yeah, we're gonna run for office, Andrew. No bones in our wings. No bones on our women.
That's a platform I can get behind.
And an M2 on every Toyota.
No more fucking chicken tax.
Yeah.
Just the chicken party. We're just absolutely every policy that we officially announce is somehow chicken related.
What was it? A chicken in every pot?
That was FDR, wasn't it?
I think it might have been FDR.
I think it was.
Post Great Depression.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was FDR.
I hate to say it, rabbit tastes better.
All right. Yeah. No bones in our wings. 2028.
We just need to actually win the lottery so we can afford a presidential fucking campaign.
Right.
Gonna need to win the lottery a few times. They're estimating $10 billion is going to be spent on this election.
I want to go now to like one of those town hall Q&As that presidential candidates do, and like look Trump directly in the eye and go, the state of Michigan or the state of Ohio or whatever has declared that there is now no longer any meaning to the word boneless, that boneless wings can have bones. As president, are you prepared to take a stand on this issue?
Those are bone-in wings that identify as boneless.
That's what we need. We need a presidential debate on bones and boneless wings and whether tacos or sandwiches.
I would actually tune in and watch that.
That would be
I
fucking
would.
hilarious.
I mean, it's already a peak clown show at this point, so why not just go full retard?
Oh, and you have to take a 50 milligram edible before you start the debate.
Biden's out, but I mean, he might actually sound coherent at that point.
No,
He just starts rambling about ice cream.
Dude, a 50 milligram edible, and I'm going to start ranting about ice cream. Are you kidding me? 50 mil? Oh my god!
And then when they do the intermission halfway through, they have to on camera both take a massive bong rip.
Gravity bong.
Oh, God. No. You guys are thinking flour. I'm thinking shatter here at this point. So no, you're gonna have to like just a whole thing of wax, just all in one go.
Oh,
Wow.
a Statue of Liberty carved shape of wax as it burns down in the bowl. Yeah.
God, can you imagine? Just, God bless America.
Oh, Jesus.
Somebody said something about wings.
Yeah, somebody said there'd be wings here. Are there wings? Is there? Do you have to see craft services? What is?
Yes.
Oh, what do we got going on here?
Buckshot says the other major one, crunchy versus creamy peanut butter.
There's no
It's
debate
crunchy.
there.
That's not even an
There's no
argument.
debate there. It's crunchy.
Yeah, it's not even an argument. Like, I don't.
That's
You know who
stupid.
likes smooth peanut butter? Communists. Okay.
They also like bones in their wings.
Yeah, they like bones in their wings and no.
Commies like no. Commies like bones in their wings because then they can take the bone and make bone broth in order to stay alive.
No.
And no nuts in their butter. Fucking commies.
They need nuts, but not in their butter.
Those are the same people that eat celery.
Yeah, who does that? What are you hoping to get out of eating a water stick?
Just terrible.
A stringy
Just
water
the
stick.
vitamins.
I've never.
That's it.
Like,
Just
who-
the vitamins.
Who started eating those in the first place? When like there had to have been
You know
a person who's like, you know what would make this water better if it was also stringy. Like what?
Well, I mean, people said the same thing about eating pussy, so
Yeah, we're past that.
Dolphins.
Yeah, I prefer my pussy without bones too.
absolutely.
No,
I mean, I'm not here to kink shame or nothing, but
I will kink shame the shit out of that. If you're into feet,
oh, yeah. I really want that T-shirt. That's that raccoon sitting there, and it says, "It could be worse. I could be into feet."
yes. No. All right. Let's throw some links and get out of here.
Crunchy's just half done. What the fuck?
That's dumb.
That's nope.
Tastes like the.
I tell you
computer
what,
off the
Buckshot.
back of a PlayStation.
No, hold up. Buckshot,
What?
I challenge you. You come to Wisconsin, I'll take you out to the range. If you can hit 5 rounds at $1,000, I'll agree with you. If you can't hit 5 rounds at $1,000, and I can, you must only eat crunchy peanut butter. Eat crunchy peanut butter.
You know what it is?
For the rest of your life.
You know what? It's because his dog prefers smooth peanut butter.
I mean, at this point, with us and Buckshot,
I mean, he's
are
from
gonna be on
Minnesota,
opposite
so that's
sides.
not surprising.
We're obviously going to be on opposite sides because he's a heretic and a blasphemer.
Okay. All right. Links. Let's go.
Yes.
Peace.
So if you want to care for your beard like a Viking, like I do, check out thebeardstruggle.com. Use code InkAnarchist 15 and get 15% off of your entire order. Also, be sure to check out Reaper Brand Apparel. They're an awesome company. They have awesome message, and they have a link in our link tree where you get a discount. You can also put in Inked Anarchist and you can get 10% off, but you get 15 if you go through the link. So I recommend that. Also, be sure to use the link to check out Lions Not Sheep. They have some really, really cool shirts. They have both a free man and a free woman, by the way. So you can get one for the wifey, the girlfriend, whatever, downstairs neighbor. I don't really care. I'm not here to judge, but you can get stuff for them. That's also super cool from there. They also have a really good book. Radical Change Requires Radical Change. Also check out Poppin's Patches. He's been running a whole bunch of awesome discounts and clearance stuff.
Oh, he's got a big sale going right now too.
Yeah, it's just all sorts of cool deals right now. So if you've been holding out on putting, some of those patches on some of your stuff, like now would be the time to order. You're gonna get some great discounts on really good quality patches. Very, very happy with them.
I'll tell you right now, the Tactical Elsa, my daughter absolutely loves it.
See, he's even got stuff for the kids. Look at that. See, so it's only your fault if you don't get to enjoy that stuff at this point with those discounts.
Not to advertise his competitor, but Tactical Gear Junkie. They have a Crescent one, slope proof certified or slope proof qualified.
I really need that one. I really, really need that one. That one's freaking great. How could we possibly get up the sloped roof? It's ADA. It meets ADA requirements.
So, speaking of links, if you enjoy your caffeine addiction, you like the fantastic ground bean mud known as coffee brand coffee, use code Valhallarchist, get 5% off.
Oh.
And buckshot, where am I getting it? Where am I shooting at $1,000? I have a private range. I get to shoot at 1,000 yards anytime I fucking want.
So, is there anything else?
I don't think so.
Anything?
Going once. Rumble.
Rumble.
Yes.
Join us on Rumble.
Yep.
Eventually, we'll get around to paying the fee for a subscription to StreamYard, so we can.
Yeah, we probably won't. Anyway,
stream in
on
both
that note,
locations.
Probably not.
Probably not.
I got the winning lottery ticket. The clerk at the store said that it was the winner. So we'll increase the quality of this podcast.
We should really start.
No, probably not.
Eventually here.
Nice. All right. On that note, yeah, I guess we'll catch you on the next one.
See you.
Peace.
Peace.